Well, the frustration begins when they steal your money, but in Georgia, even when a judge orders a thief to pay back the victim, there's no guarantee you'll get full restitution.
Now, should a crook be able to keep what they stole even after they've been caught? Now, that's the question Fox 5 I-Team reporter Randy Travis has been asking for us. Randy?
Right, Sine Rossi, it happens more than you or I would like to think. Turns out to catch a thief may be the easy part. Making him pay up, well, that's the real game. Hey, Mr. Dennison. My name is Randy Travis. I'm with Fox 5 News. We're doing a story about people who don't pay restitution after they promise to.
This is admitted thief Dennie Dennison. Dennie don't pay or play.
No comment. Get the out of my face.
But you promised when you pled guilty that you'd pay back this money, and you haven't yet. So you've broken your promise.
Get the out of my face. What you don't understand.
The wheels of justice grind slowly, and I'm beginning to see that.
You think he's just trying to play out the clock?
Well, he looks like it.
It's hard to draw that line between the guy who's running out the clock and the guy who legitimately just can't come up with the money.
Here in Georgia, plenty of criminals know how to play the restitution game. To stay out of prison, they agree to pay back the money they stole. If they don't make the payments, a judge can still send them to prison, but only if they're still on probation, only if the clock is still ticking.
Andrea Lewis Harris figured out how the game works.
She promised and said that she would pay me back. The judge also stood up and said that, you know, she's going to pay this money back instead of going to jail. And that's what she chose.
The restitution.
The restitution.
How's it been going?
Not good at all.
Andrea Lewis was a healthcare worker who admitted forging her patient's signature on checks and pocketing $19,000. Willie Cook Sr. raised and trained Tennessee walking horses, the first black man to serve as a championship judge. Later in life, he suffered a stroke. In 2003, his family hired Andrea Lewis to care for him. He died in 2005. According to court records, during her first year on probation, Lewis paid about $3,000 in restitution. But then the checks started dwindling and getting ridiculous. In 2014, court records show Lewis paid a total of only $98 to Willie Cook's estate.
It actually ended up to where it became a joke between us. I'd call him and I'd be like, ooh, we got a check today.
She was like, you got a check from the courts. And I'm like, oh, man. And then all of a sudden it's 16 bucks. I mean, there's a couple of them I didn't even cash.
But it cost them more to issue the check than what she paid.
They asked the judge to revoke Lewis's probation and send her to work release. Instead, the court added 5 more years to her probation. But last year, Judge Deborah Turner ended Lewis's probation, even though she still owed the Cook family $15,000 in restitution. That meant the criminal courts can no longer force her to pay.
Said she didn't have the means or the funds to pay you. So they released her.
I think she realized that, like, after the first time or two she went back to court when nothing happened to her, I think her attitude became, nothing's going to happen to me. And I think it became a joke.
Gwinnett DA Danny Porter says it's a lot like chasing back child support.
They have sort of an argument. They say, I have a felony conviction now. I can't get a job. I can't earn that much money.
Andrea Lewis told us by phone she works at a fast food restaurant and makes little money. She would not answer my main question. Will she ever pay back all the money she took?
I'd love to get it paid off, because if I hadn't paid off in 2 years, I've been off his probation.
It's clear 61-year-old Dennie Dennison knows the system. He wound up back in court after failing to make restitution payments related to a stolen motorcycle case in Barrow County. George Twitty's share of the loss was $300. Well, here are the restitution checks he's been getting from Dennison.
I was angry at first, now I'm just disappointed. I'm not sure who to be angry at. I think he's gaming the system here.
Is that what you're thinking about? You're trying to wait until you're off probation so you don't have to pay this anymore?
Look, I pay him what I can. I sell blood, pay what I paid. If you think I'm lying, you think I'm bullshit. Look at this.
Blood from a turnip. What else to be done with someone who says that's all he's got?
You understand if you don't pay the restitution, you're going to go to jail anyway.
No, they sue me for it.
And I'll have to sue him civilly.
He just said that.
Yeah, so he knows.
He knows.
He knows. See, he knows.
When it came time for George Twitty's request to have Dennison thrown in prison,
we don't have debtors' prisons in this country.
The court found Dennison did not have the money to pay Twitty, so he had not violated his probation. And then Judge Joe Booth admitted what theft victims across Georgia already know. Time is not on their side.
Many times these cases expire without fines and restitution having been paid. In fact, I would probably just go out on a limb here and say the large majority of criminal cases in which there's restitution do expire without that restitution obligation being met.
I mean, hell, I can't give money I ain't got.
Well, late today, the state provided us a snapshot of the restitution game. According to Department of Corrections records, from 2013 to 2015, 1 out of every 4 criminals ordered to pay restitution entered their probation without fully paying what they owed to their victim. Now, there is a new law, Sinead Russ, that puts a civil judgment automatically on the case against the defendant.
Okay.
But then, of course, the victim has to chase that money afterward, try to get a garnishment or figure out some way of collecting that money without the threat of putting the guy back in prison.
Right. Well, it's a good thing we don't have debtor's prison in this country, but you don't want to see victims get played either. So is the state doing anything to try to make this a better situation?
The state is, they say they're sensitive to the situation. There's the Department of Community Supervision now supervises all the probationers, and they say they understand the frustration, and they've tried to make a difference by prioritizing or reprioritizing the amount of fees and the way the fees are collected so that restitution is taken first before all those other court fees that are usually levied are taken later on. But they admit that, yeah, there's an issue. I mean, of course, when you're getting checks for $4.35, there's not a lot of money to go around.
Yeah, and it's frustrating to see that people intentionally play the system, as Russ said.
And that's what these victims think. Now, we don't know in this case. The victims think in these 2 cases that we profile, that's what's going on, but the judge thought otherwise.
All right. Thanks so much, Randy.
Randy, thanks.